but I'm sick.
The meeting is called to order at 9 o'clock. I will read a public notice regarding recording of this meeting. Please be advised, North Frontenac Council meetings are recorded. By attending a public meeting of council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Chair and or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of the recording. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Township shall not be responsible should technical difficulties prevent the recording of any meeting or a portion thereof. Technical issues may include, but are not limited to, the availability of the internet connection, device failure or malfunction, unavailability of social media platforms, or power outages. It should be noted that no protection is afforded to council members, employees, or the public for comments made during the meetings which are subsequently challenged in a court of law and are determined to be defamatory. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with the Municipal Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, that all information provided for at a public meeting or any other public process are considered a public record. Members of council, staff, delegates, and attendees should be mindful of using names of individuals or entities when discussing matters in public. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behavior or comments. So we're on to item 2, the approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Good, seconded by Councillor Regent. Be it resolved that council approves the agenda dated October 13th, 2023 as circulated.
Are there any comments? All in favor of accepting? Passed. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? This is item 3. None noted. We're on to item 4, matters considered at a public meeting in council. Jenny Kapusta from the county, our community planner, is, I think, online. Is that correct, Kelly?
Yes, she is.
To give us a presentation. This is described as a zoning bylaw housekeeping amendment from zoning bylaw 5519. Go ahead, Jenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't necessarily going to give a presentation as this is the same bylaw amendment that was at the public meeting, but I can pull up the PowerPoint presentation I did at that point if you wish.
Perhaps instead of that, we'll ask if anybody has any comments or questions around the table. Nobody wants to put up their hand, Jenny. Oh, Fred, Councillor Fowler has a question.
I've got a few questions throughout this whole presentation. I'm just wondering whether or not this is the appropriate time to do it.
What do you mean around this whole presentation?
The different items that come up in the resolution, like for instance, I got some questions about old houses and sleep cabins and kennels and a few other things like that. I mean, is this going to be the last time we'll be able to discuss this to sort it out?
Can you answer that question, Jenny? Is if there are detailed questions about the content of the bylaw, the original bylaw, which you're not addressing, you're just talking about a housekeeping amendment?
I can say I'm here to answer all questions about the bylaw. It was quite an extensive housekeeping. It probably I'm probably able to address Councillor Fowler's questions on that. It seems like he has questions about a number of the different amendments that we're putting forward about things being added and removed.
Go ahead, Fred.
Where are you?
I'm just wondering about the sleep cabins, where you can locate them on when you have a sleep cabin on a property and the property has a septic system that has 3 bedrooms limit to it on a class 4 system. And they add a sleep cabin, are they required to upgrade their septic system to meet that standard?
That's an excellent question. That would be one I would have to defer to the building department at the township, as they have taken over responsibility for septic approval for applications such as these. When KFLNA approved septic systems, sleep cabins were considered an additional bedroom. South Frontenac had a different approach, so that would be up to the CBO at the Township of North Frontenac.
And I think the same concern would apply to a garden suite.
A garden suite has full kitchen, cooking, bedroom facilities. It does have to be hooked up to a septic system, absolutely. That can either be a separate one or one shared with the main building.
Okay, another question is a garden suite on a waterfront lot. According to the bylaw, it says that you aren't allowed to have one.
That is correct. We are altering that permission in compliance with the official plan policy that secondary dwelling units are not permitted on waterfront properties. So a garden suite is considered a dwelling unit, albeit in a temporary basis. But in order to have ease of understanding and sort of uniformity across the township, garden suites are not going to be permitted on waterfront properties the same way secondary dwelling units are not permitted.
That would be any waterfront lot, including like a small waterfront lot of half an acre, or how about a waterfront lot that's several acres large?
That would be for any waterfront property. That was the intent. If the property was large enough and somebody wished to apply for a zoning bylaw amendment exception, it could be considered at that time. But as a general rule, it makes sense to limit the dwelling units on waterfront properties to a single unit.
Got one more, and I'll let it go. The island and landlocked, or the island and waterfront access only properties. There's a parking requirement that they have to find their own parking space on the mainland. Does that mean that if somebody's going to buy one of these properties, that they'll have to also buy a place on the shore, the mainland, to deal with having 2 parking spaces like they're required to have?
Not if it is an existing lot of record. These parking requirements will apply to any newly created water access lots. Letting staff understand that an existing lot of record, if you already have a property that's water access or island and you're able to sell it, that already exists, and therefore these requirements are not implemented with regards to that. It's the intent is for all newly created lots to ensure they do have long-term access to boat launching and parking facilities.
Thank you very much.
Mayor Lichty, you have a question?
I do. It refers to the one that Fred was just talking about. Water access lots and the parking. The comment that's in the comment section is it's in our best interests to actually do this. Well, if you've got a lot and you haven't got room for a parking space, you can go and get a minor variance or apply for one. Well, that's time and that's more money. Meanwhile, and I know boat launches are different, but we're telling boat launch people that or associations that if you haven't got enough room, go and get a couple acres yourself and park your cars there. It's a little bit of a dichotomy. I don't know. I don't like this. Is there anything we can do about this?
Comment, Jenny?
I mean, it is up to council whether they want to approve this specific amendment part of it. The intent is to, the same way if we were doing development that was accessed via a right of way or some other such access on land. In order to get a building permit, legal deeded access is required to develop the property. This is a way of providing legal deeded access to a water access only lot, the same way a right of way or private lane would provide water legal deeded access to a property that doesn't have frontage on a township maintained road. It's a fairly common requirement in other townships as well. Some sort of parking or requirement. Otherwise, you have the situation where you have a development and nowhere to get access to the water. And if you're on an island or a water access property, where are you parking your truck and your trailer? Public boat launches don't have enough space to accommodate all of the water access properties parking. So it makes sense to have this. It's not that you have to purchase a 1 or 2 acre mainland parcel. It's more that you need to have a deeded access over a parcel. This could be an existing marina boat launch parking area. It could be a private property. Variety of options are available to facilitate this parking. It's just to make sure that we don't end up with trucks and trailers all down public roadways and all over public boat launches, to make sure that there's access for everybody.
Thank you.
So this housekeeping amendment does include that requirement as something new that was not in the 2019 bylaw. Is that correct, Jenny?
The parking requirements were in the 2019 bylaw. This has been updated to require access to boat launching facilities and parking on the same property as deeded access. Previously, the parking requirement was there, but a public boat launch could be used for access. The concern again was whether the parking availability was in proximity to the boat launch and the tendency of the boat launch users to leave their trucks and trailers at the boat launch because it made more sense than using a deeded parking area. So this is more to add a boat launch requirement to the existing parking requirement for new lot creation and make sure they're all in proximity to one another.
Two members of council have expressed a bit of concern over that particular issue. I'm wondering if there's any need to discuss this detail further. Does anybody else on council have a comment about this parking issue? Seeing none, I would suggest that we pass the amendment as noted. All in favor?
Read the motion.
Oh, we have a motion, sorry.
Moved by Counselor Good, seconded by Counselor Regent. Be it resolved that council receives for information Jenny Kapusta, Community Planner, County of Frontenac's planning report entitled zoning bylaw 5519 housekeeping amendment. And that zoning bylaw 5519 be further amended as per the draft bylaw to include as attachment number 1 in the report. And the council determines that in accordance with section 3417 of the Planning Act, no further notice is required prior to the passage of the bylaw. And the council will consider a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 5519 later in the meeting.
In favor? Passed. Item 5, we have a business
Just one more.
profile.
Mayor Lichty has a comment.
Mayor
No,
Lichty?
I was just voting.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know how to do it, so
I didn't see your vote, if it was for or against.
the hand was up. Is that okay to vote like that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Business profile for KXO Timber Frame. Councillor Hudel, do you have a comment about this company, or should we just take it as written?
You can just take it as written. I was really fascinated on the whole process of the timber frame. It was interesting.
And it should be noted that the one of the owners of this business is on our Economic Development Task Force. Item 6,
Motion.
we have to pass this again, sorry.
Moved by Counselor Regent, seconded by Counselor Good. Be it resolved that council receives for information the business profile from KXO Timber Frame provided by Counselor Hudel, member of the Economic Development Task Force.
In favor? Passed. Acting Staff Sergeant Jamie Davis from the Frontenac Detachment will speak to us now about billing. summary. I think we have a live mic up here, Jamie.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I believe I submitted the billing summary for analysis here. I can go through that, and then I'll also provide some information to council on matters that are generally come to your attention most, which are nuisance behaviors. I have a further breakdown, keeping in mind that the billing summary is just based on the information that is put in by the officers. The Municipal Policing Bureau collects that information, and it's not a populated report. The difference is some of the information in there, you can't distinguish between Central Frontenac and North Frontenac. So that's why I need to dive deeper into, say, the traffic stats and the marine stats, information that I can give the council a much better kind of a broad-based look at what we're doing and what we have over the third quarter, which is from July to September. Before I get into the summary, I need to set the background so you understand the limitations and restrictions that we faced during this quarter. This is our predominantly busy season, and we went into this season with only 61% frontline availability. So we were pretty short. So when you have a detachment of 47 members, but you've only got 30 people on the road, and that's on paper, and you have 4 teams of 4, it doesn't take long. If you lose 1 or 2 people, that platoon's in trouble. And this is the kind of things that we ran into when you come across the unexpected, the unaccounted problems or unaccounted scenarios, so to speak. We had 1 member who was suspended for conduct. That impacted that shift, and that impacts the detachment. Other members have moved on to temporary assignments. There was growth and development. I had to turn my mind to maintain that perspective to the office. So keep them engaged and keep them motivated to come to work. So that takes from the front line. So we lost some people, 2 members to that. We lost 1 person on parental leave. So this has an impact on all the platoons, which subsequently impacts our ability to proactively do enforcement and do other things that we want to do. So that kind of falls back into a reactive mode that we fall back into. And that's dependent upon the calls for service. And this time of year, we know we're going to be busy. We know that marine calls come up, nuisance behavior generally comes up. We participated in all of the provincial traffic campaigns, Canada Day long weekends, Civic Day long weekend, and Labor Day long weekend. And I can provide some information on the productivity to that. Our contingency of operations plan has been submitted. It's been approved. That was in August. And I've completed the OPP strategic plan for 2023 to 2025. Currently, right now, there's a competition ongoing for detachment commander. I was not successful in the competition. So there will be a new detachment commander probably by the end of November. Interviews are going to happen on the 22nd to 23rd of November. I anticipate a short time after that, a new detachment commander will be named. And I will be seeing that transition for that new person as they succeed into their new role. If you want to move into the billing summary, I can do that.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Overall, hours committed to North Frontenac are down, which is nice to see. Predominantly, everything is the call volume itself has been down specifically for North Frontenac. We did have some unique situations occur in this quarter. We had a murder on Bishop Lake. That was a unique scenario. So that does raise awareness and heightened alertness to something that we don't normally see in our area. We also have had some property thefts where we've had reports of some members and some community members in North Frontenac taking actions to try and, on their own accord, to try and bring these people to justice. I'm happy to report that 2 of the 3 are currently sitting in jail. And it's only a matter of time before the 3rd person will be in custody. So that brings a level of satisfaction and calm to the community. And I recognize that. So that's why I wanted to bring that to the attention. Those are the 2 important cases for North Frontenac that I need to highlight. Moving into the violent crime overall is down. My perspective, when I look at the billing summary, my main goal is there any discrepancies or inconsistencies between this year, last year, or anything that's really spiked? And if that's the case, is there any correlation or any relationships to why that's happened? I moved through this report, and when compared to 2002 and even this time last year, there's nothing substantial that stands out. There's no correlation or relationship to why you might have anything like 1 or 2 more. Anything, I don't turn my mind to 1 or 2 variation. Anything above that I might look at, but for the most part, throughout this whole report, there's nothing that stands out per se to that effect. Property crimes in itself, it's situational. So this, I would expect in Q4, we're going to see possibly a higher elevated amount of break and enters and thefts because people aren't home. Cottages are locked up. People have left for after Labor Day weekend. Subsequently, it's an opportunity for career criminals to start hunting, so to speak. During the summer season, Q3, people are at their cottages. They're there. There's more people around. So we're going to see a decrease in that. Other criminal code, excluding traffic. Again, these are down. Statutes and acts. The mental health is a unique beast of its own. There's no relationship when it comes to the mental health aspects. We do have one MCERT person. When I was here last time, we talked about the mobile crisis response team. We had 2 people. Unfortunately, we weren't successful in getting the funding for the 2nd person. That went to the bigger OPP detachments that are clustered with more than 1 or 2 detachment locations, such as Lennox and Addington. We do have a community services officer engaged full-time now, working with MCERT. And that MCERT person encompasses all three townships. So having that officer dedicated has allowed us to expand our opportunities to engage with different communities and with different agencies. Operational factors for the billing summary. These are all your nuisance stuff. This is all your behavioral stuff that comes, which is normally what is draws most attention to council, because you get the complaints from the community, from the public, whether it's an B&B related matter, suspicious vehicles, persons, noise complaints, property disputes, anything like that. This is all in the operational areas of the billing summary. We normally see them come up for the summer season. In this case, they're down slightly. And I can I'll break down further into what these nuisance behaviors are. It provides a much clearer picture on the types of reports that we get and what people are doing in the community. Traffic with the billing summary, it doesn't provide an accurate picture. We've obviously had more than 4 collisions. I can break down further into that shortly. So overall, the billing is down. The hours are down substantially in this quarter, which is nice to see. Our Our members have been busy. We do have a dedicated Marine unit and a Marine officer for this quarter who was engaged with our SAVE unit, which is a dedicated provincial unit dedicated to a snowmobile, all-terrain, which is on the trails and on the boats. So our Marine member has been working in conjunction with this provincial unit. So we get their assistance to also supplement operations and enforcement for North Frontenac and South Frontenac townships. Moving through again, separate from the police, the billing summary. It's a police service board report that's generated. Again, it can't differentiate between Central Frontenac and North Frontenac. It's either north or south. That's how this this report is generated. I can't divide it. That's why I have to divide it separately into utilizing different systems. And again, this is a snapshot, but it's not overly accurate. In this quarter, it says we had 11 personal injury accidents, 38 property damage accidents. Well, I will tell you what those are very shortly. Fatalities, again, it says we had none this year, but in fact, we did have 2 boating fatalities. And I will go into better detail with that. The causal factors for these collisions, whether it's alcohol, is it drug, is it speed? Again, because of the factors that we had in these were marine, we can't determine precisely what those were. Was it due to recklessness? Was it a medical? We don't know that. Criminal code charges laid. In 2023, it says we had 4. Well, we've had more than that. I can tell you that. So I will go into a better detail on that. And again, with traffic, this says we had 2 speeding complaints. Well, we did not have 2 speeding complaints. We had a lot more than that. So it's only valuable to the way the information is put in. And that's either by the officers who submit it or by the system itself, how it captures it.
There's another OPP unit that's dedicated to traffic. So their stats wouldn't be included in yours. Is that correct?
No, that stat or that traffic unit is the Highway Safety Division. Their traffic stats aren't included in this. The traffic stats that I've collected are from it's an e-ticketing program that is unique only to our officers. So when I can identify specifically each officer, the number of tickets that officer has generated for that quarter. And I can break down the top 10. I can break down the warnings, the number of provincial offenses notices, summonses, and I can get into that, and I will shortly. The Highway Safety Division is another provincial entity. That's a dedicated traffic system. That's a regional team, and they supplement the detachments. They support the detachments in their efforts. So if I have a hot spot that I need to target, or they're coming into our area, I can say, "Yep, I want to work with you. We're going to target this area. I need some help with that." And then they could come up and they can work in that area, and they can be very effective. When we look at the violent crime, again, it's the numbers are down, but it did capture that 1 murder charge. Sex assaults 3 to 4. There's no distinction or correlation to why there was 1 more from this time last year. Assaults, there's 1 more. Again, there's no correlation. Crimes against persons are down substantially. Property crimes, break and enters are down by 3. Thefts under, thefts over, thefts in general, and frauds are down, which is nice to see. But mischiefs are up. Mischiefs are damage to property. So whether that was an attempt to try and break into a commercial spot, in a residential spot, to steal something, we don't know. I can't correlate a connection to, or a relationship to that. It's a moment of opportunity, or it's an opportunity for a career criminal to take advantage of a situation. When it comes to drugs, these are up. The reason, the possession and the trafficking. This is because back in April, I provided, we didn't have a person, a dedicated person in our street crime community enforcement unit. So I dedicated a person to that unit. I took a frontline person and I put that person in this unit. All they do is drugs and thefts. That's all they work on. So they have a team that works with our other detachments, Napanee and Picton. And this team collectively targets our career criminals in our jurisdiction in the county of Frontenac and does projects, surveillance. And that's why we see this increase in this number in the possession and the trafficking charges, because that's a direct correlation to this specialized team engaged in trying to track down these people. Clearance rate is up, again, especially for drugs, as I would expect it would be, and our violent crime as well. Unfounded charges, which there wasn't enough information to determine whether or not this actually happened or not. And vulnerable sector checks, again, are online to this time last year. These are people in trying to, obtain clearance checks for community involvement, volunteer, criminal, all kinds of different things like that, even pardons. So that is a breakdown of, it's a snapshot. This is a snapshot Q3, which gives you kind of a baseline. But if I really want to dive deeper into what our offices are doing, this is where I had to get into the meat and potatoes. So I went into, if I focus our minds on the traffic, we have the capability and it's a new system. It's an e-ticketing system. So long gone are the days where an officer will handwrite a ticket or a provincial offenses notice. Now everything's done electronically. It's a better tracking system. We can determine our hotspots. Where do we need to have? I can geopopulate these on a map, and I can find out where are these issues having, or where are they occurring? Where do I need to put the members? Where do we need to target them? So we could have a right place, but the wrong time. If you switch that around, now we're getting better results. So we're getting this information from council. We get it from the community. We get it from our officers with boots on the ground, talking to the community, getting out in the community and engaging with them. In Q3, there was 102 total charges issued. 99 of those were Part 1 offenses, which meaning the officer is given a ticket right at the roadside. 3 of them were Part 3 summonses, meaning you're compelled automatically to go to court. And there were 34 warnings given. Of the breakdown of these charges, 29 of them were speeding. And then the next were having liquor in unauthorized places, which is interesting. After that, it's into the Marine. So our Marine unit was very effective in this quarter, which I expect it would be because it's the prime summertime. So the Marine was very effective in enforcement. And I'll highlight the 5 or 6 different lakes that they were into to do this. But they were laying alcohol tickets, life jackets, driving a boat or a vehicle with cannabis available, and then being in a boat with open liquor. And it just goes down the list, all the way down to operating a non-human powered pleasure craft without life jackets. So that's how detailed that's how effective our Marine unit has been in this quarter. So they've been very effective overall. All the officers have. I'm happy with what they've done for this season, given the shortfalls and the limitations that we've had. So with very few limited officers, they're still out engaging and doing the right things for the right reasons. So I was glad to see that. The ride initiatives. It's tough to do proactive ride when you don't have members. I acknowledge that. My policy for when I was, even now when I'm in charge, was 2 per shift. Minimum, I want to see 2 per shift, but that's dependent obviously on call volume and what the officers had to get done. So that was down in this quarter, but that was not, I expected that to be down. If I turn to my mind to the nuisance behaviors, this is what council generally wants to hear, because this is what is causing a lot of grief for you. So what has been happening in this quarter? Noise complaints, 2 calls. One is resort related, which is the B&B resort related. And the other one was at the provincial park. When I turn my mind to trespass to properties, 5 calls. So what did this encompass? When you talk about trespass to properties, everything has an umbrella over these nuisance behaviors. So it's important to understand, well, why are people calling in to the police and what are their issues? Like what do they deem to be this to be a problem? Trespass to properties, well, actually somebody walked in the wrong house. One over a dispute. People walking across property and actually removing property. So this is why people are calling us. Okay, fair enough. Neighbor disputes, 23 calls for service. And obviously situational, we would expect we're going to get this time frame, we're going to get increased call volume for neighbor disputes. So what are people calling us about when it calls to neighbor disputes? 5 of them are in regards to actions against someone or a property. So they've done something against somebody or the property. And in one of these, it actually related into a criminal charge, whether it was an assault, a threat, a mischief, they actually resulted in a criminal charge. 4 of these were actual threats to harm people or animals. This is in relation to neighbor disputes. Okay. 1 for slandering. 8 in relation to property line disputes. And this is where I've tried to engage bylaw. So we didn't really have a connection with bylaw back in April. So I made it my mission when I found out that bylaw was really there and they were working for us. I thought, you know what, this is an untapped resource. So I got involved and actually made it part of our action plan. And I went through their roles, responsibilities. I sat down with them. We're tightening up in all the loopholes currently. So bringing back like Line Fence Act, where you have viewers who can come in and deal with this stuff, right? Because this is not really police related. A lot of these are not police related matters. So we can engage with bylaw and they have the ability to do administrative monetary penalties right on the spot. They have a lot more bite sometimes than what we can do. So they can be more effective hands-on at that time than what we can do. So far, we've streamlined their operations to ours. Our connection and our working relationship with them is strengthened, and we're seeing tremendous results with that. So now we're getting them involved. We can attend with them as backup. They take the lead, and we can isolate and identify and end it right then and there. So we're getting good results with that. We had 2 of these neighbor dispute calls in regards to harassment and 2 for loud party or loud music and or parties. So there's been a bit of a variety when it comes to the neighbor disputes. Suspicious vehicles. Not really any calls for suspicious vehicles, but a lot for suspicious people. 12 calls for suspicious persons. 5 of these are people that are just walking in public areas, beach, road, near the gas stations. You know, we do have people that are homeless people that are just traveling through. They're harmless, but they do draw attention. We've had several calls on one particular person. So there is a relationship where that person has been called in a few times to us. Suspicious people, 4 calls for people on suspicious private property, and 3 for they've heard noises and they've called police. We've come investigated and it's unfounded. There's nothing there. There's nothing that's happened. No impaireds in this for North Frontenac per se for this quarter. Motor vehicle collisions. This has been it's surprising given the summer season how somebody could destroy their vehicle on a perfect summer day, but it does happen. We've had 57 motor vehicle collisions in this quarter, which is quite a lot. As the second highest obviously would be animal related because we're in a rural area. So I would expect that to happen as well. 15 of these were animal related. So what are people hitting? Well, they're running into deers, bears, porcupines, and dogs. That's what these like animal related MVCs are. 22 of these are property damage by itself. So they've either destroyed their property, their own vehicle, or additional property, whether it's a mailbox, a fence, they damaged something else that's property related. 4 of these have resulted in personal injuries. 4 of these were motorcycle related, 1 resulting in 1 life altering event. 1 considered as other. We had 1 boat. 3 off-road vehicles collisions, 1 resulting in 1 life altering event. 2 of them that were called into us that were not located. So we come, we attend, we don't find anything, we patrol the area that can't locate it. 1 failed to remain and 1 trailer related incident. So there's a wide variety of that. So of the 57 MVCs, there's a wide range of collisions. Of all those collisions, they resulted in 21 charges by the OPP. So police have attended, the officers have attended, and as a result of that, charges have been laid. Anything from careless driving, failing to report or remain, to drug possessions, 1 impaired, so we did have an impaired. Turn on in safety, helmet, passing, seatbelts, fall too close. There's a whole range of different charges. But the important thing is the officers are recognizing and holding people accountable when they're involved in these collisions. Turning to Marine, 13 calls for Marine service during this quarter. 2 in relation to a sudden death. This is, the first one was in Big Clear Lake and regarding a Sea-Doo. This is a gentleman who was on a Sea-Doo, got flipped off, popped up, began swimming, disappeared. And he died. The second was on Brule Lake and regarding a boat with 4 people on it. The boat started taking on water through an open well. The operator gunned the engine, which caused the boat to pitch up. All the water went to the back, which instantly sunk the boat. All 4 people came up, and then 1 disappeared. And there was no life jackets in any of these people in both cases. So that person that unfortunately died. We had 1 call for a submerged boat or kayak. So the Marine, that was a call for service by a Marine. They went out and rescued that person. 3 calls for reckless use and 1 for one that struck rocks. Marine charges. So proactively, the Marine unit was on 6 lakes. They were on Big Clear Lake, Big Gull Lake, Silver Lake, Bob's Lake, Crotch Lake, Charlotte Lake. So they're trying to target some of the major ones. Within all of those lakes that they patrolled in quarter 3, they had a total of 23 charges. 18 for various statutes, 2 under the Shipping Act, 3 under the Liquor License Act, 1 actually resulting in a 3-day suspension. They also issued 66 warnings. Total vessels checked were 60, which is a lot of vessels to check in that short amount of time. So I was happy to see good productivity with that. They were out there engaged, doing what they should be doing. And subsequent to any questions, that's the information I have for the panel.
Thank you for a very comprehensive report. I don't see any questions. Oh, Councillor Hudel?
Yes, thank you for the report. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the work that you do in this area. So thank you for that. Couple questions. The amount of staff that you have, and I know there's various reasons that you listed why they left. Is there not a backup pool in the OPP where you can draw from to fill those spots, or temporary, or?
I get this question quite a lot. This is a provincial problem. The OPP itself is in a situation and has been for quite some time. Every detachment is short members. We have 900 people retiring a year, and we're only hiring 500 every year. So the pendulum is swung so far to the right that even the province is trying everything they can to attract people into the profession. Even the provincial government is on board. They've added a 5th class to Ontario Police College. Doug Ford reduced the admission costs for to go to OPC. That's an $18,000 commitment that the recruit has to pay for 3 months. So they've waived that in an effort to try and attract more people to the profession.
So are you saying you're not getting enough recruits?
Yeah, so
Wow.
we're not supplementing what we're losing. We're losing more people through attrition and retirement than we can bring on board. So we're never going to catch up. Eventually we will, but for now we don't have the people in the organization to do that. So other things that the force command staff has looked at is rotating specialty units into the road. So taking, like I say, a highway traffic act, if you have 6 officers dedicated to a dedicated traffic unit, for these 2 weeks, you're now frontline doing calls. Crime unit members, specialty members in surveillance and alcohol and gaming. Anybody who can put a uniform on, they're saying you're going to be putting on a uniform now and you're going to hit the road for 2 weeks, and they're cycling. Our levels are so bad. I mean, when I started in April, we were at 79% frontline availability, which is very healthy and very strong. That allows growth and opportunity, or growth and development opportunities for the members, because we still have an obligation to grow and develop our members. That creates a happy member who wants to come to work, and it's beneficial for them. Problem is, when you let people go, that's at the detriment to the front line. You still have to maintain operational commitments. What you can't account for is the unexpected. Officers do things, say things that get them in trouble, and they get off the road. They're put off the road. All of a sudden, somebody breaks a foot, they go off. They go on parental. Well, if those people that go off, if they're from the same platoon and you only have four members on a platoon, and now you've lost 2, there goes 50% of your strength. That's crushing to a small detachment. And this is the problem we have with a small detachment. So how do we work around that? So that's why it drives up the overtime costs. That causes burnout, it causes sickness, and it causes frustration to the officers. So it's a very fine line that we have to manage. I have to navigate all summer, because traditionally you do run lean through the summertime, and that's we run into it, and that's why we see this happening here.
So that's sort of a segue into my final question. The Marine unit, do you coordinate with conservation officers when they go on lakes? Because we haven't had an OPP Marine unit in our lake for quite some time, but we have had M&R on our lake this year in particular. I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity there, because I'm not sure what charges they can lay compared to OPP, but it's still enforcement of some kind.
Yes, absolutely. They have they are peace officers, so they have the same powers. I know some of the officers in Charlotte Lake have engaged with M&R. They have been a source of assistance to us when it comes to their expertise in hunting, especially this time. This time of year is where the Q4 is where we see more involvement, obviously with them because of the hunting season. That brings a unique set of circumstances and call volume when it comes to nuisance, right? Trespassing, shots fired. We get a lot of weapons related calls when it comes to this time of year now, the fall. So we have more engagement with MNR during this time frame. I know the Marine unit has engaged with MNR more for assistance when it comes to assets. That's from my memory, what I recall them being is more asset related.
Mr. Fowler?
Just, could you, just briefly speak about the SALT unit, what they're doing for the community? It's an OPP.
Yes. Yes, SALT is engaged. There are two, there's the North Frontenac and Central Frontenac SALT Committee and the South Frontenac SALT Committee. I've been spearheading, or I should say I've been working with the SALT Committee members, making presentations, trying to bring education awareness on issues that are important to our seniors. So frauds and scams are really big. Fire prevention, tick awareness, public safety, personal safety. These are the issues that we find are of interest to our senior population and things that they want to know about. I make the same presentations for both committees throughout the county. And I'm pleased to say that our community services officer is now taking on this role full time. So very shortly, next week, we have another meeting, and I will be making this officer known to the committee members and helping him in his succession into his new role with that. We have some new ideas. He has a new variety of ideas that he wants to expand and work with for these committee members, which is going to be very beneficial to our seniors.
And just let everybody here know that SALT stands for Seniors and Law Enforcement Together. And it was brought to us by Sharon Brown, who's the unit commander in Central Frontenac.
Yes.
Frontenac County.
Correct. Yes. It has grassroots to it now. So it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. If anything, we're going to try and elevate it to the best that it can be right now.
Thank you, Sergeant Davis. Do we have a resolution? I think I got it right this time.
Moved by Counselor Good, second by Counselor Regent. Be it resolved that council receives for information the billing summary report and Q3 report from Staff Sergeant Jamie Davis, Frontenac Detachment OPP, and thanks him for his time spent today.
In favor? Passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
And carrying on the same theme of recruitment and shortages. Land Lakes Community Services ED Janice Powell will speak to us now on the topic of physician recruitment.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I know some of you and some of you are new faces, but it's nice seeing everyone. Most of you know I'm Janice Powell, and I've been with Lakeland's Family Health Team before it was even thought of. In other words, I've been there on the committees 2007. And with the assistance of a physician, I actually wrote the application for the Family Health Team. So it means a lot to me. So I just want to, I'll go through briefly what I submitted, and then I'll answer your questions. As most of you know, Dr. Dumas has resigned. Effective December 29th, he has to give 90 days notice, which he has given. And unfortunately, his patients are going to be orphaned, which only makes it worse because we have a lot of unattached patients in the community. And anyway, it's unfortunate that the other physicians cannot take them over. They are at their capacity. We have one physician who is edging to retirement. The other one physician will not be leaving us for a number of years, but has a heavy patient load. I'm very concerned about the loss of care for these senior people. Where will they go for care? It will be probably to emergency departments. I will say that physician recruitment has always been an issue in our community. And I know prior to even the FIT coming, they had trouble recruiting back here. So when Dr. Wilson left in 2017, that was my first venture into physician recruiting, and it certainly has not been fruitful. Even with all the incentives that the two municipalities provide. The current trend seems to be hiring recruitment agencies that are tending to recruit out of the UK, Australia, Ireland. And the reason for that is a change in the policy in Ontario. I believe it was April 4th or April 7th of this year, where physicians from these countries could come to Canada, not have to write the exams. And so when they arrive, they're ready to practice. So if we could get a physician from one of those countries, they could just come over and work for us. And the only thing that would really be required is some updated knowledge on medications because of the same drug, but they're called something different in their country. So a physician from that country could step in very quickly. Through my contacts with other family health teams, there's a family health team up near Goderich, Ontario, and they used this particular recruitment agency that I've been talking to, and they managed to get them 2 doctors in less than 2 weeks, which is unreal. But it still takes 5 to 6 months to get them here because of the process that they have to go through. This recruitment company, although it sounds like it's very expensive, about $10,000 of the fees that the recruitment fees go to expenses to get that doctor registered and here in Ontario. The company costs $39,750, which seems a lot, plus HST, but it's paid incrementally. In other words, you give them $9,750. They start the job. If they find you a physician and they sign the contract, then you owe them $10,000. When the physician shows up for work, you owe them another $10,000, and then a few months later, you pay the other. Should they not stay, you do get money back. I believe I sent you what the contract looks like too. So we've been through that. So really, Lakelands doesn't have the funds to pay for this, unfortunately. The ministry, they give you recruitment money, but it's about $5,000 to $7,000 a year, which doesn't touch anything. So really what I'm looking for, I'm asking if there's any, you've been very good at supporting us so far. If there's any opportunity for funding to assist in this recruitment, that is my ask. And I'm prepared to answer any questions. It's very difficult in today's market recruiting. There's a lot of people don't want to go into family medicine. So they start out and then they end up going into a specialty. So I know you know Dr. Ward. I have spoken to him a couple of times, and he is in one of the new pilot, I guess you'd call it a pilot project out of Queens, where they're taking people into the program, and when they graduate, they will be family physicians. They will not be specialists, which is, I think, going to be very beneficial for us. We are looking at taking some of placements. We've already had a brief discussion with him about that and trying to get them, once they come in, if they came into our clinic, they might want to stay. So we're also looking at that. I have a question.
I get first dibs, Mickey.
Oh, do you? Okay, Bruce Dibbs.
It sounds like this recruiting company, it sounds too good to be true. You say you spent some money and in 2 weeks they found you 2 physicians. Do you expect that kind of a result after all these years of search?
I've already spoken to a physician that contacted his company and had a lengthy discussion. So we're just waiting to see what's going to come out of that. He had a physician contact him before I even, and he set it up. This is John Livingstone is the recruiter.
And generally, they're trying to find offshore physicians who are willing to come to Canada.
That's basically what they are, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Hermer.
About that. What effort has there been to encourage the CMA to recertify the present foreign doctors and nurses that are already in Canada?
Oh, they've been trying. I haven't been involved in any of that stuff, so that has been that's been looked at, that's for sure. I can't give you further details. So, anyway.
Councillor Hudel.
Couple questions. You mentioned, I think you mentioned Ireland, Australia, and UK, that they could come over here and practice right away. What about the Canadian students that are over there studying in Ireland? They can come back and
They
still,
can come back, yes,
and the same, they don't have to write any exams here. They're able to practice immediately.
correct,
Okay. The other question, so we're losing one doctor.
yes. And we're already down one before
Right, so
that.
really we should be looking for 2 doctors.
Yes, really, honestly, we should
We
be
need 2
looking.
doctors.
We had 4 doctors at one point and things were running very smoothly and yes, in the end, but I would be elated with 1.
Yeah, yeah.
And then look for a second one. Yes,
And I'm assuming you've gone to Addington Highlands.
Yes, I have
What have they committed?
40,000.
Councillor Good.
Yes, you said that Dr. Doom's patients will have to go to an emergency. They can't get appointments in Northbrook with any other doctor?
Because they're being orphaned. Our other 2 doctors do not feel that they can take these patients on, which is they're at capacity. Dr. Dabaya has already reduced his hours. And we are also short an NP in Denby, which has caused problems. I do have an NP that comes to Denby. She works in Whitehorse. And when she's home on vacation, she will fill in there for me to help. And she's coming back again for a few weeks in November, but she'll be going back up to Whitehorse. She has signed a contract up there prior to us having a vacancy in Denby. So we're down an NP too. So we have 1 NP in Northbrook. Dr. Dabaya is working part-time and that leaves Dr. Tan.
So the NP, when she's done her contract in Whitehorse, is there a possibility she's coming back?
Don't worry, we're already working on that.
Okay.
And she has made the statement that if she returns to primary care and works in a family health team, she has clearly said she would come to us. So, but she has to fill her contract up there, which I believe is 2 years. I believe.
Councillor Fowler.
See, a question regarding nurse practitioners being in the office as well and working with the doctor. Is that possible?
With them being in the office?
Well, having nurse practitioners available to take the load and look after people.
Yes, right now our nurse practitioners are actually helping take the load off the physicians so that they can see more patients. And that's what the one we have in Northbrook currently does. She's doing a lot of the same day stuff that need to be done. Same things, but we are looking at other options as to what we can do. I've been talking to Fernando Taveras. He was there since the inception of our family health team. And taking a look at what else we can do, and that is another option that unfortunately, family health teams, we've just come under Ontario Health as of October the 1st. So they're new, it's new, and when you submit requests, it's taken a little bit longer because it's newer people looking after it. So I'm right into that. What a horrible time for this to happen. Because before that, we were directly reported to the Ministry of Health. And now there's another layer that we have to go through. But your question is quite valid.
Counselor Herman?
Well, when I spoke to them at Lakelands, they assured me that for the next year, people's medications renewals will be available for the following year.
Yes. that's true.
And also, if you do require information from a doctor, there will be facilities there where you can go online and contact one virtually.
So that is not, that one isn't at Lakelands. That one's going to be through Tobias Pharmacy. He even currently has access to a virtual doctor there. But that's not through Lakeland's family health team.
Counselor Hudel, second question.
So obviously you're here looking for help.
Yes, if you can find me a doctor, I take that first.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know a few, but they're all retired. So Addington Highlands giving you $40,000. That's gonna pay for the recruitment. So you're asking us for money also.
Mhm.
Is that to supplement the incentive of the doctor coming here? Is that,
I think that we were initially talking that it would, and Addington Highlands went ahead and approved the 40, but I think the idea was maybe sharing in the costs, and that if there was extra left in the 40, that could go towards another a physician. Stephanie's been involved in this.
so just give me 1 second. So okay, so ideally 2020,
2020 would be perfect.
is that enough?
We're
Because that's
still,
just the recruitment. And we have our incentives here already, but I see what's going on in the province and what other municipalities are offering.
they are offering it's
lot more,
lot.
Right, so
yes.
that what I'm asking is $40,000 for the recruitment. Is that enough?
If you compare it to others, no. But that would be a real bonus to get us started. Some are offering pretty big incentives to these positions to get them. And one of the things that the recruiter, that John Livingston told me, is that the majority of physicians that he's dealing with are looking, believe it or not, he said, going to the city of Toronto.
Yeah.
And I know I spoke to you just before,
Right.
but that's what John Livingston, the recruiter, told
So,
me.
I mean, I would be in favor of doing that, but I'm gonna ask the treasurer through the mayor, you know, where would these funds come from if we were to approve $20,000?
So currently we do have a reserve fund, a medical reserve fund that has about $29,000 in it. This was money from a prior recruitment, and the doctor had left early, so this reserve had got started. We haven't added to it. So there is funds possibly for the recruitment piece. The incentive piece previously was a taxation item.
So I would be in favor of using that $20,000, and I'm not sure what the process would be needed around this table, but I'll let Stephanie talk.
Just to clarify, Janice, was the 29 initially it wasn't, you didn't need the whole 29 or R20 or whatever it is. You didn't need it all of it up front. It was,
No.
it's like a step process.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, it's 9,700 when you sign on the line.
Right.
It's 10,000 when they when they find a physician who agrees to sign a contract.
Right. And I don't think it's, we've kind of think we may have a line on someone.
Yes, I did talk to someone, yes.
Right. So I think it would be, We need to help you. We need
Thank you.
Would you like to make a motion, Councillor Regent?
I'd love to. How do I do that?
You make a statement.
We have something there already.
Tara writes it down.
So I don't have anything, just accepting the,
Could you give me some advice on what to say?
I-
You could ask that our current medical reserve be allocated to doctor recruitment for Lakelands.
I'd like to make a motion that our current medical reserve be allocated to Lakelands Family Health Team, if that's the appropriate term, to help them with physician recruitment.
So what I would do, oops, sorry to interrupt. So what I would do as the money is spent, I would let you know so that you wouldn't have to actually give it all to me in the beginning. It's to be in increments.
Well, the important thing for us here would be that commitment.
Mhm.
How it's used is your
Okay.
concern.
Okay.
Do we have a,
I'll second.
the CAO?
So what if we were to say committed up to 20,000? So we have a $29,000 reserve. So if Addington Highlands is doing, they said they would do up to 40,000 is my understanding. So I think that would cut things down to 50-50.
Mhm.
So if we said up to 20,000, but we pay it as she pays those out, would that be acceptable? I'm just concerned if we do our whole reserve of 29,000. And then I would imagine the next step would be, now you're gonna need money to get the doctor to come here. So we've done 2 agreements with you guys.
Mhm.
15,000 a year for doctors on 2 occasions now, Dr. Dumas being one of them, and Dr. Wilson before that. So I'm assuming that you're probably gonna need some money for that as well down the road, I'm guessing. So it's gonna go beyond this. So I'm just concerned if you put all your eggs in one basket, then that's gone, and now we've got to figure out where we're gonna get the other. Assuming that's correct.
Are the mover and seconder okay with that small
Yes.
change? Right, and Tara's getting this all down very quickly.
so actually the mover and seconder on this motion is Counselor Good and Counselor Regent. Are you okay? Yeah. Kelly, what is the name of the reserve fund?
It's the Medical Services Reserve Fund.
Deputy Mayor,
Counselor Good.
is that gonna say the 20,000 or the 29,000?
It's going to say 20,000 according to Corey's.
20? Okay, that's fine, because I can see in the future, Sharp Lake possibly coming first for money too, right?
That was going to be a question I was going to ask Janice. Is this going to offend the other family health team in Sharp Lake in any way?
Not that I know of. I don't think so. I
Thank you.
hope not.
I
Right.
hope not too.
I can't see it offending them because they haven't came to us yet to ask any for any money, so I can just see that they are going to come though in the future.
Corey?
Kelly, for as far as treasury sake goes, does that make sense as the treasurer?
Yep, that sounds good. And just to clarify, we gave 5,000 for doctor recruitment earlier this year. Sort of the Charlotte Lake end.
To the Sharp Lake Family Health Team.
Yes.
Thank you. Could you read the resolution, Tara?
So moved by Counselor Good, seconded by Counselor Regent. Be it resolved that council receives for information the presentation from Janice Powell, Executive Director of the Lakelands Family Health Team regarding physician recruitment, and thanks her for her time spent today. And that council commits up to $20,000 from the Medical Services Reserve Fund as the funds are required for this recruitment.
We're adding the word incrementally to the resolution. All in favor? Opposed, if passed.
Thank you.
Hope this helps.
I hope so. I feel very, I think it's promising. I'll
Good to
keep you
hear.
posted.
Now we have our chief, who is going to give us an annual report for 2022. Are you coming to the front, Eric?
Mr. Chairman, good morning. Councilors, Mr. Mayor, staff, public, those in attendance, good morning. I am going to be providing you a summary of the annual report 2022 as provided in your agenda package. 2022, we had many firsts and accomplishments throughout the year. The first and most important was our call rate increased to 155 calls. We had a first in the lock zone save. And we recognized firefighters for the life-saving through CPR AED with a lightning bolt award, similar to what the paramedics are offered. And our volunteers committed 1,134 hours to training. So within the province of Ontario, through the Fire Marshal's office, we have the 3 lines of defense. The first is fire prevention and public education. The second would be code compliance and enforcement. And then the third and the last resort is emergency response. Our emergency response is divided into our core services as established by the ENR bylaw as approved by council. We understand that by enhancing the first 2 of the lines of defense, we reduce the reliance on the third. 2022 also marked. Did you skip one or did I move them? I moved them. Okay. In 2022, the fire life safety educator provided the following prevention initiatives within the municipality. We returned to door-to-door inspections for code compliance on smoke alarms and CO alarms. We did a total of 137 door-to-door visits throughout Fire Prevention Week and throughout Carbon Monoxide Week in November. We also returned to in-person committee meetings with lake associations and also provided pre-planning to some of our residential occupancies during those home inspections. A pre-planning is where we look at the properties. Are there propane cylinders? Is there any detriment to the large fire vehicles accessing properties? Where would we stage and drop porta tanks to protect that property and the neighboring properties? So the pre-planning is an important component of our home inspections. We also participated in the fire drills at Clarendon Central and had conversations with the junior grades, and throughout the year provided many social media and press releases on key events and key messaging throughout the year. There we go. 2022 also marked the 100th anniversary of Fire Prevention Week, the longest running campaign in North America. We also focused on educating the residents, our children and adults about the early warning of smoke and carbon monoxide alarms and the requirement to have advanced planning and escape plans. As I mentioned in the intro, we recognized firefighters with the Lightning Bolt Award for the saving of a life through cardiopulmonary resuscitation and the use of our AEDs in 2016. And again, it was one of those opportunities to recognize past occurrences. 2016, we had Jim Bowles, Jason Lemke, Nicholas Ross, and Dylan Bowles. 2018, George and Michelle Ross saved a life. And in 2019, Jeff Culp, Jim Bowles, and Don Morton. And as I said earlier, we also had the first saving last year of the administration of naloxone for an opioid overdose. And those firefighters involved in that would have been Jacqueline Leach, Don Morton, Jim Bull, Stan Seitz, and Robert Rutherford. We also recognized 3 firefighters for exemplary service awards, longstanding service awards. Randy Chenor, a firefighter for 30 years service. Kenny Gould, who has since left the department with 20 years. And Captain George Ross from the Office Fire Station for 15 years. Overall, we had 2 firefighters attend Hazardous Material Awareness, which is an online program. We had 3 firefighters complete a weeks-long training for hazardous material operations, which would address such things as chemical spills, motor vehicle accidents, marine rescue. We had 2 recruit firefighters attend the legislation online program, which provides them the opportunity to understand the legislative powers they have as firefighters to enter onto property to respond to an emergency. We had 1 firefighter complete their firefighter level 2, which provides the department and that individual with the certification as mandated by the fire department, by the fire marshal's office for 2026. We had 9 firefighters recertify their emergency first responders training. So that is our medical response. The firefighters are required every 3 years to refresh their training over a 24-hour program. We had 2 firefighters attain fire officer level 1, which again meets certification under the Fire Code, Fire Prevention Act for 2026. We had 2 firefighters attain their fire instructor certification. And we had 1 firefighter attain their fire inspector certification. Each of those last 3 programs are week-long, 5 days, 8-hour day programs outside the municipality. So they leave their job to go and learn those and acquire those certifications. There we go. North Frontenac has in place, as council is aware, automatic aid and mutual aid agreements. We work hand in hand with the provincial police and provide support when requested. We have a mutual aid agreement with Caladar Barrie to assist in response. That mutual aid agreement was enacted the other day for a fire on Addington Road, where we sent manpower. We have a mutual aid agreement for Central Frontenac for general response and request. We also have, as put in place in 2023, an automatic aid agreement with Central Frontenac for response to, basically it's our dispatch areas of 202 and 203 in Snow Road for manpower and tanker support, as well as an agreement for ice water rescue throughout the municipality. We have an agreement with the Ministry of Natural Resources for wildfire response, and that is divided into 2 categories of properties: Crown Protection Area and Municipal Protection Area. So that's CPA, MPA. With that agreement, we can call on the ministry to assist us when we require aid, including water bombers, and they call on us, similar to the event of earlier this year, to help them at the Centennial Lake Fire, both of which responses are invoiced to the other agency. We have an agreement with Lanark Highlands for mutual aid. Greater Madawaska automatic aid renewed in 2023 on a biannual 2-year basis. And we have a mutual aid agreement with South Sherbrooke. We assisted South Sherbrooke with 1 wildfire in 2022, and were stood down with a response to 1 structure fire. We assisted Lanark Highlands with 1 wildfire, and we assisted the ministry in 2022 for 1 wildfire. Central Frontenac, 1 structure fire on 509. Caladar Barrie, 1 wildfire and 1 request for tanker shuttle support. And the OPP in 2022 with 1 marine access response. 2022 saw the significant windstorm of May 2022, and I will make comment. It seems that whenever these events are here, the person in charge is usually my assistant as I'm away. And at this, I would like to segue. I would like to introduce my new assistant fire chief, Pat Robinson. And I would like to introduce my admin assistant, Sonia McLucky, both of who would make, without who my job would be extremely difficult. They take the edge off my position every day. The storm itself, as we're all aware by now, was called a derecho, and it tested our ability as a township to respond to a natural event which our community has not seen before. The windstorm closed roads, prevented access to our parklands, and many personal and seasonal homes and cottages. It destroyed parts of our power grid, damaged homes and properties. Some will not recover in our lifetime. The fire, parklands, and public works worked tirelessly to open roads and reach our residents and visitors alike. Now we get into the meat and potatoes. Our response comparisons. Our response in calls is up, as I mentioned earlier, to 155 calls a year. As you can see, the breakdown for medical 2022, we're up to 89 calls on an annual basis. While we indicate 12 structure and property fires, I will mention in 2022, we had no structure fires. We lost no homes. So those property fires relate to a garage fire. Somebody's burning the grass around their home and their home's at jeopardy. Based on classification with the fire marshal, that's classified as a structure fire because of the exposure, the home was in jeopardy. Open air burning, those are regulated by our municipal bylaw. We had 6 CO calls where we're dispatched to the potential for CO poisoning. In-home alarms sounded. Mutual aid and request for assistance by neighboring fire departments, we had 7. Public hazards could be hydro lines down on the road, things of that nature. Rescues would be ATV, marine, boat stranded, overturned canoes, and then false fire calls where we show up similar to the OPP. And while the public has identified a need for a response, there is nothing apparent or visible for us. So again, the breakdown, you can see that our calls by nature, the arrival of our seasonal residents in May, the May long weekend, our calls take a spike. They remain high throughout the summer periods and tend to spike around the long weekends, which throw those months off. And the anomaly being in 2022, the higher than normal in December. Otherwise, we're fairly constant around the 12 calls per month. We did see an increase of 20%, and they're directly attributed to an increase in the tiered medical response. Just to briefly give you an idea of tiered medical response, we hold an agreement with the Frontenac paramedics to respond to a medical request for aid by a local resident or visitor. And if the paramedics are going to be tiered in greater than 15 minutes, the fire department responds to stabilize the scene or the patient and await and assist the paramedics to transport the patient for medical care. So the establishing and regulating bylaw 7618 provides that the department adopt the NFPA 1720 standard. The standard itself is for the organization and deployment of fire suppression operations, emergency medical operations, and special operations to the public by a volunteer fire department. That standard is 14 minutes. Over the years, our response time have gone up and down. And I can say that in 2022, over 2021, our average response time for fire calls decreased by 41 seconds. And unfortunately, it increased by 5 seconds. The decrease and increase in response is not attributed to firefighter availability or the response time of the individual to the station, but can be correlated and is relatable to the location of the station and the distance traveled by the firefighters to reach the request for aid. This slide is specific to CPR, AED calls and stroke calls. And I just want to make council aware that most of the calls we attend are in 25% of the calls are in excess of 10 kilometers from a fire station. And really patient contact in chest pains and heart attacks, as well as strokes. An early response by the fire department can have a very positive impact on the outcome of the response in patient care. And for council's information, we meet or exceed the standard for chest pains by 25%. And we are on scene to make a difference 44%. So about 66% for CPR calls, which explains the high number of saves we have when we administer CPR and AED to a patient suffering a heart attack. And similar to an individual suffering a stroke or seizure, again, we're there in about 80% of the time to provide that positive outcome for patient response to the care. 2022, with council support, saw the delivery of a new tanker. This is not a vacuum tanker. This is a water hauler. It's filled by either a pumper on scene at a water source or by one of our recycled, reused 18-horse Honda pumps built into one of the compartments. So it's a self-sufficient pumper. It can also be used for wildfire suppression when it's parked. And we have 3,000 gallons of initial water. I have one more slide here before this one, so please bear with me. So, as I mentioned earlier, our firefighters train for 1,134 hours in-house. That does not include their attendance at Leeds and Grenville College, the college in Arnprior, in Norwood, or any of these regional training centers, RTCs. We do like our acronyms in fire. Our in-house training scenarios allow the firefighters to acquire the knowledge and skills so that when they do attend these centers, they're certified very quickly, and we can backfill that information that sometimes they don't get while they're on these courses. So our people show up and they tend to have a little more knowledge than somebody who is fresh. In summary, I'd like to say we're looking forward to the future. We recognize that there will be challenges. And in light of the recent changes to the Fire Protection and Prevention Act, it mandates that all firefighters and officers and key personnel will be certified to their respective positions by July 1st, 2026. And then some of the positions coming annually thereafter. We also realize it's difficult for a volunteer firefighter who has a full-time job to leave his job and go acquire these certifications. So we'll continue to explore new ways and work towards meeting these challenges while continuing to provide the level of service that keeps our community and our residents safe. Volunteer firefighters, community-oriented, caring, trained professionals. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Eric. This is well timed with the recent news report about a fire chief in Northern Ontario talking about a crisis in recruitment, precisely because of ramping up of qualification requirements and exactly what you said, people having to take time off work to train. Hudel.
First of all, thank you for the presentation. It's nice to see staff out here doing presentations, something I've been asking for. So it's good to see that. Very well done. A good presentation. Shouldn't leave too many questions, and you've answered most of it. I love the fact that you put so much data in there. I think that's really good. Just a comment, not really a question, wildfires in the future. Are we doing special training for that? Are we getting more equipment, or more partnership with the province?
Mr. Chairman, through you. The firefighters trained to a level of response, which is required with our agreement with MNRF, and it's SP 103. So as our firefighters sign on and become recruits, they will train SP 103 internally, and we issue an internal certificate that say they meet the qualifications. With respects to our response, we continue to respond to all MPA calls. And when requested by the ministry, we help with the crown protection as well, similar to this year. I don't foresee any changes in the future. And we're able to train our first responders, the medical team, to assist with the SP 103 and the wildfire response, because it doesn't require a BA to go into a burning building. I think I've answered your question.
And one thing I should have mentioned, I should have thanked you for your services as I did the OPP. It's very much appreciated. And how is our recruitment right now? Where do we stand at manpower?
Mr. Chairman, through you. The P&A committee receives a roster update as they meet. And I will say this to council, since the last update, we have 5 new recruits.
Impressive. Thank you, Eric. Eric has a resolution.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good. Be it resolved that council receives the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief's presentation and administrative report entitled North Frontenac Fire Department Annual Report 2022 for information purposes.
In favor? Passed. We're on to item 8, the adoption of the minutes.
Moved by
Sorry, Sarah.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good. Be it resolved that council adopts the minutes as circulated of a public meeting of council held September 22nd, 2023, a regular meeting of council held on September 22nd, 2023, and a special meeting of council held on September 26th, 2023.
Are there any comments? Seeing none, in favor? Passed. Item 9, business arising. We need to appoint a board member to the new Frontenac Municipal Services Corporation. What's the process here?
So I can read the motion. I don't have a name in it right now. And then it would be anyone that wants to put their name forward.
Please read the motion.
Moved by Counselor Good, second by Counselor Regent, whereas at their meeting on June 20th, 2023, council passed resolution 285-23 agreeing to join the proposed Frontenac Municipal Services Corporation. Therefore be resolved that council receives for information a letter dated September 21st, 2023 from Jeanette Amini, Manager of Legislative Services, Clerk County of Frontenac, advising the County of Frontenac at a regular meeting held on September 20th, 2023, passed resolution 166-23, requesting that prior to October 21st, 2020, the councils of each town member municipality appoint a member of the board of the FMSC, and that council appoints the following member of council to represent North Frontenac.
Do we have any indication of the time commitment required for this board position? I might have read it somewhere, but I can't remember.
Deputy Mayor.
Jerry?
This particular, there's supposed to be 2 groups. This is the overseeing board of directors. Then there will be a technical group. This one, the technical group is going before the county admin committee for reference or for first vetting on Monday. This was originally thought to be the 4 mayors. And then they said, well, maybe the mayors don't want to do it. Maybe a councillor would like to do it or whatever. So having said that, I would like to do this. But it's open to anybody. Don't know what the time commitment is, but it's going to ramp up.
Well, that's great that you would like to do it. Is there anybody else on council who would like to run against the mayor for this position? Seeing none. Can we fill in your name in the blank?
You can do that. I knew you were doing a good job.
Thank you. You read the resolution again, Tara, please.
When the amendment reads, and that council appoints the following member of council to represent North Frontenac, Jerry Letke.
In favor of the resolution? Passed. We are now on to item 10, communications A. These are items that have been received for communication. Nobody has made a comment or asked them to come forward. Any comments? Seeing none. Do you have a resolution for this?
Moved by Counselor Good, second by Counselor Regent. Be resolved that council receives for information Section 8 items of the clerk's administrative report entitled Communications of Interest.
In favor? Passed. Communications item B. B1 is a resident request regarding Moss Lake Road. There's a killer hill on that road, apparently. And could you read the resolution, Tara?
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information an email dated September 27th, 2023 from Jim Ford, South Side Road Association, Mary Doxeter, East Side Road Association, and Brent Loney, West Side Road Association regarding the Blind Hill on Moss Lake Road, and that many residents feel the hill poses a safety hazard as it is impossible to see traffic coming down the road, particularly ATVs and snowmobiles. And that the associations are requesting the township consider leveling off the top of the hill to improve visibility on the road. And the council instructs the public works manager to prepare a report including potential costs to level the hill and provide recommendations to be considered at an upcoming meeting.
So the request is for the public works manager to do a study. I've been over that hill a few times. I imagine there's a hill there because it goes over rock. I'm not an expert in this, but I imagine the report would come back with a very high number. What do we do with this? Do we actually ask the public works manager to do such a study or make a comment?
Mayor Lichty has a comment.
Mayor Lichty?
So Deputy Mayor, I went and took a look at this because I did not know the hill. Coming from 506, it's not good, but coming back from Hydro Lane, it really isn't good. There is a convex mirror there that if you know it's there, you can see what's over the hill. Darwin will have to tell us, but there may be room to widen the road out and a couple signs like keep right and so on. The signage is there, but or what's there is just Blind Hill and it's not in good condition. So, you know, but I'm not so sure if it's rock. It probably is. But there should be a little bit of room to widen that road out. But if you're going to get into leveling it off, it could be quite expensive.
I understand Public Works Manager is away right now. We could ask for comment on that. I mean, I drive River Road regularly. There's just as bad a hill on River Road. And I've seen accidents on that hill, so this could lead to an avalanche of bad hills. They're everywhere. But do we have a resolution for this, Tara? Can we simply ask the Public Works Manager to make comment?
Yes, so the resolution is that the Public Works Manager prepare a report, including potential costs, and provide recommendations at an upcoming meeting.
Councilor Fowler.
Yeah, I went and took a look at that hill specifically because of this. And I think we should do something about it. If you have another hill on River Road, maybe we should do something about that one too.
I think Councilor Good is about to bring up another hill.
Yes, there's numerous hills throughout the township, and if we start looking at every hill there is, that's and plus all the donations that we're trying to do for what is really important is for family health doctor. I think we should be going by the township's chief to tell us what we should do with the hill.
So the resolution is, Councilor Fowler, one more question?
Yeah, my concern is, if we know there's an issue with the road and it might cause that road to be dangerous, that you're looking at a liability thing down the road. If I'm just saying that that's the only, it's not the only reason, but I wouldn't want to see anybody hurt, but I wouldn't want to see any liability after either.
Let's allow the Public Works Manager to make a comment about that potential liability. All in favor of the resolution? Passed. Item B2, we received a communication from the new Ministry of Rural Affairs and Housing with 75 or 78 possible recommendations about how to increase housing throughout the province. Most of them were urban oriented, and the mayor has singled out 3 or 4 of these, I think, as a response. The response was required by, was it the 27th, I think? Very soon. My only concern here, and I thank you, Jerry, for going to the trouble of doing this. My only concern is that without prior council discussion, we're representing a township position on an issue. So I think if anybody has a comment on this list of possible actions, they should make that now. It was boring reading. Did anybody look at it?
Other than me,
Could you have a, do you have something to say about this, Mayor?
I read the whole thing. There's 74 items. 23 of them are already in place. We already have a couple of the ones where I recommended. Actually, I did talk to Fran Smith from Central Region, and we did talk to the county saying, maybe you could do something, and the county said they didn't have enough time. So I put this together because that was my background. There's a number of people think, well, there are some representatives think this is just a red herring to deflect attention away from the Greenbelt issues. However, they've asked, these are reasonable. There's no silver bullet in any of them, in my opinion, but we're giving them a response. And it is interesting that, and both Fran Smith and I noted this, it did go to the mayor, it didn't go to the mayor and council. And given what happened the last meeting, I said, no, this has to go to council. So Corey and I worked that out.
Well, here it is at council, and everybody has an opportunity to comment. I'd like to make one comment, and I think the second last item, 72 or something, is that Crown land be opened up. And I'd like to comment that I don't know how the rest of council feels, but we have a lot of Crown land. I personally am not in favor of opening up Crown land for development in this township. Is that part of the response, a negative response or not?
No, the ones we're putting together here, Deputy Mayor, are the 5 out of the 74 that we think may help us. There's nothing about Crown land in any of that.
No, there's nothing about Crown land in the ones you've
Right.
highlighted, but it is in the list. I suppose if we don't mention it, it will be ignored. So let's read the resolution. Everybody's had a chance to say something, and nothing much was said.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information a letter dated September 15th from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, advising the Housing Affordability Task Force delivered its final report with 74 recommendations to tackle to the housing supply crisis and build 1.5 million homes by 2031. And that Minister Calandra is requesting that the mayor prioritize the top 5 recommendations for future consideration, and that the completed chart must be returned no later than October 16th. That as per the mayor's recommendations, council has identified the following recommendations as priorities. Task Force recommendation number 26, pre-consultation with all relevant parties. Number 30, option of pay on demand surety bonds and letters of credit. Number 50, provincial and federal loan guarantees for affordable rental and ownership projects. Recommendation 52, develop and implement a municipal services corporation utility model for waste and wastewater. And number 56, province should establish Ontario Housing Delivery Funds. And that council instructs the clerk to provide their recommendations to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
All in favor? Passed. Thank you. We're now on to the other meat of this meeting, item 11, administrative reports. A is a shore road allowance item, Rubio and Tement DeCamillis.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Shore Road Allowance Closure and Sale Bylaw, Rubio and Temet de Camales, and that as required by bylaw 2023. All that part of the shoreline road allowance around Kashawakamak Lake lying in front of Lot 12, Concession 6, Geographic Township of Barrie being Part 1 on Register Plan 13R22967 Kashawakamak Lake, and all that part of the shoreline road allowance lying in front of Lot 326, Registered Plan 1045, Geographic Township of Barrie, being Part 1 on Registered Plan 13R22976 Kashawakamak Lake, be declared as surplus and sold to the adjoining owner. Appraisal of the properties are not necessary as these are shore road allowances, and the council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to stop up, close, and sell a portion of the shore road allowance.
In favor? Passed again. Item B, council meeting dates for 2024. We discussed this at the last meeting. This is simply a statement of those discussions. No comments? Councillor Good.
I missed the last meeting as in I couldn't do it by Zoom because I was in, I do believe, northern Manitoba at the time. But here again, we're back at the 5 o'clock meetings. This is not, I disagreed with it earlier because we do not have any more participants, audience participant at 5 o'clock meetings than we do at 9 o'clock. What it does do is it puts overtime on the staff, actually puts overtime on the taxpayers as well, because taxpayers has got to pay for this overtime. And then it puts the staff home late at night, that possibly depend on how long the meetings go. So they are possibly tired for the next day as well, and because they've already worked a 8-hour day. So I think council should reconsider these times here as the 5 o'clock ones to be back to the 9 o'clock morning ones. And we're not, like I said, paying overtime, and we're not putting extra time on the staff that they could possibly be tired going home that night, driving home, and for the next day as well, that their minds wouldn't be active. So I disagree with the 5 o'clock times.
I'm not surprised to hear that. It's unfortunate you missed the last meeting. You could have made that statement while we were, there were alternate arguments. I'm not sure it's completely true that we have to pay staff overtime. I think time in lieu is sometimes taken. But the rest of council did agree on this for 2024. So unless there's further comment.
The rest of council already knew before the meeting what my opinion on it was. So because I missed the meeting, yeah, I couldn't give my opinion out, but I'm giving it now. And it doesn't have to go through today. It can be changed.
Councillor Hudel.
So we already talked about this. We had a good debate. Most of the people agreed with it. I think we just read the resolution and vote on it.
I would agree. Your objection is noted, but I am going to ask for a vote. All in favor of the motion? A recorded vote?
I need to read
The motion has to be read, unfortunately.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, second by Counselor Hudel. Be resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Proposed 2024 Council Meeting Dates, and that council approves the following meeting schedule. January 12th at 9, February 2nd at 9, February 23rd at 9, March 15th at 9, April 5th at 9, April 26th at 9, May 16th at 5, June 6th at 5, June 27th at 5, July 25th at 5, August 22nd at 5, September 12th at 5, October 4th at 9, October 25th at 9, November 22nd at 9, December 13th at 9. And that the meetings will be held in the council chambers, and that the clerk shall provide notices set out in section 3.3 of the procedural policy.
And we're having a recorded vote on this.
I'm in favor.
Counselor Good. Counselor Hermer,
Yes.
Counselor Hudel,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ingles,
Yes.
Counselor Regent,
Yes.
Mayor Litkey.
Yes,
The motion is carried 6-1.
Thank you. We're now on to item C, assumption of portions of 4 roads. We have a motion. A resolution to read.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Hermer, be resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Assumption of Portions of Roads, South Bush Road, Shabamika Lake Road, Smith Road, and Folger Road. The council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to dedicate and assume a portion of the roads as noted in the report. The council instructs the clerk to have a municipal solicitor register the bylaw against each of the properties.
Are there any comments from council? Counselor Fowler.
We're going to assume these roads, what about maintenance on these roads?
Eric, could you comment?
I can. So South Bush Road is really the only road that we're assuming, and it's already maintained. The other 3 are just road widenings, so they're already maintained township roads. The area that we're taking, I don't know if it's maintained at this time or not. It's just widening from severances. We're just acquiring 10 feet of the road.
All in favor of the motion? Passed. Item D is an amendment to a concession road allowance closure. Could you read the resolution?
Moved by Counselor Hermer, second by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Concession Road Allowance Closure McNichol. Now, based on the policy for the sale and disposition of land not to sell road allowances which result in a negative impact on neighboring owners, neighbors' land, council denies the application to close, stop up, and sell this road allowance. And the council instructs the clerk to advise the applicant and adjacent property owners of the council's decision.
Any comments from council on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Sorry, yes.
So
I'm going to get some advice.
okay, so there is no ability to speak during the meeting. It's but it's at your leisure. So it's the chair who can decide if you wish to take comments from the public.
I'm going to take that opportunity to allow you 5 minutes. Could you introduce yourselves and come forward to this? I think this mic is live. It's easy to turn on. Thank you, technician.
Okay, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking on behalf of the application, which was submitted by my parents, William McNichol and Darlene McNichol. The application is for them to purchase had originally been for them to purchase just a section of the concession road allowance that abuts to their property. Throughout the process of their application had been extended to include the full 66 feet of the concession allowance, which caused some miscommunication between the abutting property owners, which then caused them to object to our application for the purchase. My parents have since decided they would like to amend their application to include only a 33 feet portion of the road allowance that directly abuts their property. And in accordance with the map, you can see clearly the adjoining property owners access their property from the KMP Trail roadway, as opposed to the concession line to which my parents are actually trying to purchase. The concession line crosses the property at a different direction than the actual KMP Trailway. So Tommy Homestead, Mr. Tommy Homestead, who has issue with the property cutting across and obstructing his access, it's a miscommunication and an error. It doesn't actually come in contact with his property in any way whatsoever. And the other abutting neighbor, Mr. Fenway, who had concerns, his concern came about that we acquire the entire 66 feet of concession. He wanted to maintain some public allowance to that, as it does actually abut his property. And throughout our conversations with him, he agreed that if we were given permission to only 33%, the port that actually crosses on my parents' land, he would be not opposed to that. So based on miscommunication and a little bit of breakdown of communication with the neighbors, we don't want our application to be denied when we need a little bit more time to clarify, to make sure everybody actually knows what we're applying for.
Based on that information, first of all, I'd like to hear from Tara.
So I have been in communication with two property owners, Mr. Fenwick. Mr. Fenwick is okay if it was the 33 feet. I have spoke with Mr. Olmsted as well. He is opposed to this application. His current driveway doesn't use this, but it is a future, he's described as a future access to the back lands of his property. So he is opposed to this access being closed off. So that's the information that I've had conveyed to me from the two property owners that I was asked to communicate. Well, I had three. The third property owner I sent them additional information and I've had no response. So I assume they're okay.
Thanks, Tara. Do you have a response to that?
We do, like we said, the miscommunication that's happened between us and Mr. Olmsted is where his actual access to his property lies. And it's difficult to tell on the map, but if you're to put eyes on the ground, the way that the property lies, my parents have two double driveways. The one driveway is the part that Mr. Olmsted is discussing. And the way that it cuts up, it goes away from the access point that we actually want to purchase. So this corner of land does not abut anything that Mr. Olmsted owns. His access to his property comes up the road another 60 feet and crosses the KMP trailway, not the concession line. So there's a miscommunication and my parents want to still apply to purchase this piece of property, but to make sure Mr. Olmsted's objections are noted, but however, make sure his information is accurate.
Tara?
So I have had I have had conversations with Mr. Olmsted, and he is not concerned about his current access. It is the future access using that concession road allowance from the KMP trail to go into the back fields. So that's his concern. It's not about the current. So he is aware of the property. He's aware that it does access the back of his property, and he is still filing an objection to it.
Based on that information, I would propose that we vote on this resolution, and if you can work something out in the future with Mr. Olmsted, you should reapply. But at this
I would like
time,
to ask you to reconsider and allow us a time extension to resolve this matter, because when my parents put in the application, we were very clearly advised that the neighbors could not use such a nondescript reason to deny the application, or they wouldn't have put down a $1,300 application without getting prior approval from the neighbors. If we had known this was going to become an issue, we never would have applied in the first place.
so you would like us to defer this because you've already paid a fee?
Yeah, and we'd like a little bit more time to work things out with the neighbors before council makes their vote and then quashes our application. We don't want to have to put out another $1,300 to again apply for a piece of property that does not come in contact with Tommy Olmsted's land.
Is there a problem with deferring this, Tara?
So there is no problem with deferring it. In my discussions with Mr. Olmsted, I don't believe that this, his opinion is going to change, but again, that's up to council if you prefer to defer it. The other thing that council could do is, if they reapply, we waive the fee. So then the application gets closed. If they're able to work something out, they reapply, then we would collect the fee again.
I think that's a reasonable request that we vote on it
That's
now.
acceptable, absolutely.
So all in favor of passing this resolution? Sorry? Yes, I would like you to write in that we vote on this now to deny it, and if there's a reapplication, that no fee be charged.
I believe Mayor Lichty has a comment.
Mayor Lichty.
Sorry, I was just voting on it.
You're ahead of the game.
I know.
And the amendment reads, and the council waives the fee if the McNichols reapply.
All in favor? Passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now we get a very, very short report on commercial usage of North Frontenac Parklands sites, item E.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the manager of community development's administrative report entitled Update regarding commercial use of campsites within North Frontenac Parklands. That council directs the manager of community development to continue to monitor the use of campsites by all users, including businesses within the North Frontenac Parklands, and to report back to council if major concerns arise throughout the future.
Do you have a comment on this, Brooke? No? The report says there was no commercial use this year. There was last year. Legally, we're allowed to endorse commercial usage. I guess if it became a problem, we'd have to do something, but it's not a problem. Thank you.
So, Deputy Mayor,
Yes.
I asked Brooke to put this together and she did a good job of it. It had obviously had to do with the fishing on Big Gull Lake and a number of concerns from a number of the individuals there. And I just wanted an update for council as to where we were for 2023. And she's done that, so thank you very much.
So you've read the resolution. All in favor? Passed. Item F, cost sharing for a PA system in Snow Road.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved that council receives for information the manager of community development's administrative report entitled Snow Road Community Association, request for cost sharing for PA system for Snow Road Community Hall. And that council agrees to assist with the purchase of a PA system for the Snow Road Community Hall in the amount of $500 coming from the current 2023 budget line 610-50205 other materials. The council accepts the donation of the PA system to be used at the Snow Road Community Hall. And the council instructs the manager of community development to contact the SRCA to thank them for their generous contribution to the Snow Road Community Hall.
We already have a process for giving money to community groups. Corey, could you describe how this fits in that process?
Been a while. So really Brooke looks after this now, but so we have a community grant program, which is available for all groups within the township. So it's that's not just for community hall groups. However, this is a fairly frequent request, a partnership. It's definitely worth considering. This would benefit everybody that uses the Snow Road Hall. So this is a little bit different. We get these requests for partnerships. We always have. And it's a good thing for council to consider for sure.
Any comments from the rest of council? All in favor? $500 sold. Auditor appointment, item G.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the treasurer's administrative report entitled Auditor Appointment 2023 to 2027. The council approves the appointment of KPMG LLP to be the township auditors for the audit years 2023 to 2027. The council will consider an appointing bylaw later in the meeting.
All in favor? Passed. KPMG, once again. Item H is an information item only. How do we handle that?
Just a resolution.
Just a resolution.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Launching New North Frontenac iCompass Portal.
Favor? Passed. We are on to item 12, external committees. Item A is a committee of adjustment minutes.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, second by Counselor Hudel, be it resolved that council receives for information the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment Planning Advisory Committee dated August 28th, 2023.
Any comments on that? All in favor? Passed. Item B is the EDTF photos and biography. I've unfortunately lost my screen here. Is
I believe Mayor Lichty has a comment.
No. I'm just
Mayor
voting.
Lichty does not have a
You're way
comment.
ahead of yourself.
Does Brooke have a comment about this? Are we lacking some photos and some bios?
No, it was just to approve to add them to the iCompass website is all.
Bookkeeping. All in favor? Passed. Thank you. No, I've got Roy's computer. Now we have verbal reports. I think the first one comes from the mayor on county council and anything else that he's responsible for.
So, thank you, Deputy Mayor. The county council is not meeting until next week. There is an administration committee meeting on Monday morning to do an initial vetting of the applicants for this Municipal Service Corporation Technical Committee. Other than that, I have nothing else to report at this time.
Councillor Fowler, there are many committees.
Excuse me for a minute. Yeah, Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance, we had a meeting yesterday. I just want to point out the organization is really good at finding funding for the trails and also for bridges, and they're actively looking after a lot of the trails that they maintain, including the Havelock Trail, which is a Trans-Canada trail. As far as the SALT committee, we have a presentation happening at, we're moving it over to the Clare Mill Hall. That'll be on October 23rd. And the subject's going to be on wildfires, I believe. And there will be a meal provided for people that attend. I have nothing for the Lake Association or the North Frontenac Trails. So, and county business, I don't have anything to add there. Thank you.
Councillor Regent?
Obviously, there's nothing for the lake associations, and Janice did a great presentation up about where we're at with that. So that covers the Lakelands Family Health Team at the moment.
Councillor Hermer?
Nothing to report.
Short and sweet. And Councillor Hudel?
Nothing to report. I have my board meeting next week. MPCA.
I have nothing to report on the lake associations in Ward 3, except I don't know if I reported this last week. I did go for a ride on Palmerston Lake and got the Lake Association's view of spawning beds for trout in 3 locations on that lake and how concerned they are about possible developments. All very informative. Councillor Good. Thank you. That takes us. Would anybody like to give notice of a motion? Seeing none? Where are we now? Item 16, introduction and reading of bylaws. Tara, would you read out?
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Hermer, be resolved that leave be given to the mover to introduce the following bylaws that have been circulated to all members of council. Bylaw 6623 to sign a memorandum of understanding with Quinte Conservation Authority. Bylaw 6723 to close and sell shore road allowance. Bylaw 6823 to establish portions of South Bush, Shabamika Lake, Smith, and Folger Road as highways. Bylaw 6923 to appoint the auditors, and bylaw 7023 zoning bylaw amendment housekeeping. And that these bylaws be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
All in favor? That's passed. Public forum, there's one member of the public here. Bert, do you have a comment? No comment today. We now go into closed session.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Hudel, be it resolved that council retires to closed session at 11:15 a.m. to adopt closed minutes dated September 22nd, 2023, to consider personal matters about an identifiable individual, specifically appointment of a member to a township task force, and to consider advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, specifically with regards to a confidential complaint.
All in favor? Passed. Would we like to take a 5-minute break? We would. Well, soon, Jerry.
I hope so.
Thank you. Item 19 of the regular meeting is a rise and report from the closed session. How do I state this again, Tara? So council retired to closed session and adopted the minutes of the September 22nd closed meeting. Considered personal matters about an identifiable individual regarding appointment to a task force. And item C, considered advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, specifically with regards to a confidential complaint. What do we do with that? The confirmatory bylaw.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Hudel, be it resolved that bylaw 7123 being a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings of council for its regular meeting held October 13th, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
In favor? All hands are up. Passed. Item 21 is adjournment.
Just before we go forward, I'd like to thank Deputy Mayor for stepping in. You've done a great job, John. Thank you. Just don't get too used to that seat that you're in.
I'm not going to repeat this. You're welcome back. Item 21, adjournment.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, seconded by Counselor Hermer, be it resolved that council adjourns the meeting at 11:45 a.m. until October 27th, 2023, or at the call of the chair.
Favor? All hands up again. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.